Hey guys, YouTuber 100 here. Alright, and now here I am to kick off my countdown of reviews for my picks for the top 10 best animated DreamWorks movies. And so, here I am with my review for my pick for the number 10, which is The Road to El Dorado. So, when this film came out, it had like a pretty mixed reaction to it. Like, the critics really were like split on it, really. And yeah, the audience was like really mixed on it too. Like, some people liked it and some people didn't. And this film like wound up like losing quite a bit of money. Like, this film, the budget for this film was like $95 million, and the box office was only like 76.4 million. So yeah, this film lost about like $14 million. So yeah, it wound up being a box office bomb. So, does that really make this a bad film? Well, personally, I don't really think it is, like, really a bad film, really. I mean, I do think that this is a decent film. Like I said before, like, in my last video when I was talking about this, it's just like, I really haven't been, like, as big on DreamWorks films as I have been Disney. And yeah, this was one of the earlier animated DreamWorks films. And the earlier DreamWorks films I really wasn't that big for. Like, it wasn't until like about like 5 or 6 films into the into DreamWorks animated films I really started to really like them, and I really did start to follow them and was a fan. So yeah, I really wasn't like that big on this film when it came out. Really didn't. I only watched it I think like once when this was originally released. So yeah, I wasn't really that big on this film when it came out. But yeah, seeing it now, I did think that it was a. I thought it was a decent film. Like, it had some good, it had some bad. Like, yeah, but I did think that this film overall, I think it did, like, have, like, a good story to it, I guess. Yeah. The animation for this film really was, like, really Disney-esque. Like, early on, like, DreamWorks actually did do some hand-drawn anime films rather than, like, the CG animated films that they like have done like a lot more of. But so yeah, and yeah, the animation in this film really does look like very Disney style. Well, and yeah, the animation is like pretty good, and it does have like a pretty good story to it. And yeah, the two main characters I think are like written pretty well. Yeah, the two main characters in this film are just like con artists Tulio and Miguel, voiced by Kevin Kline and Kenneth Branagh. And yeah, they have like charm to them. Like, they are like pretty good main characters. Like, they do have some funny lines occasionally, and yeah, they are written well. And yeah, I do think that overall, like, they are like pretty well written characters. And yeah, the story for this film, I guess, is like pretty good. I mean, this is kind of just like a mistaken identity slash liar revealed story, where they're like end up being like mistaken for gods, and like they are posing as gods, but it's eventually like revealed that they're not. And yeah, so yeah, and of course like there's like the love interest in this film, and yeah, it's like they're off on kind of like a journey, and yeah, they end up like finding the hidden land and stuff, and yeah, of course like the residents like really do like think that they're gods, and but like I said, it's eventually revealed that they're not, and uh yeah, and yeah, it just ends up like being like a thing throughout this with like Tulio and Miguel just like really posing as gods throughout basically the majority of this film. And yeah, they do have like some funny lines every now and again. So yeah, I do think that it is like a decently put together film. Yeah, the songs on this film are done by like Elton John, Tim Rice once again, who are the same songwriters as The Lion King. But yeah, the songs in this film really are not very memorable. I really don't remember like a lot of the songs in this film. So yeah, I think that is like one of those movies like kind of downers, that the songs really are not that memorable. And yeah, it's just like yeah, songs really are like one of the cons for this film. But yeah, it's just this movie's really just like filled with pros and cons. Really, I mean, it's just really all over the place. Like some elements are good, some elements are bad, and yeah, it just like is really all over the place. Really with this film, but I do think that this is like a pretty decent film. I would give this film probably 3 stars out of 4. I mean, yeah, not really like a masterpiece or anything, but I really don't think that it's really a waste of time if anyone watches this movie. Like, I do think that it'll keep people fairly entertained when they're watching it. So, yeah. Well, let me just get right into it. Alright. So, as the film opens, it is set in, like, 1519, and in Spain, like, Tulio and Miguel are, like, con artists, as I was saying, and, yeah, as they, like, end up, like, conning some people during gambling and stuff, and they end up, like, winning a map to the city of El Dorado, which is known as a city of gold. But eventually, like, people end up like figuring out that they're actually conning them, and then, like, as they're being pursued by like guards and the people that they con, they end up like hiding aboard or a ship for the New World. But then, like, they end up being caught as stowaways by, and then yeah, the leader of the voyage, like Hernan Cortez, is that how it's said? Voiced by Jim Cummings. He ends up like imprisoning them on board, but then eventually they end up like breaking free, and they end up like with the help of like one of the horses, Altivo, they end up like stealing a rowboat, and eventually they end up like washing up on the shore on like an edge of Mexico, and yeah, and then like as Miguel was looking at the map, he then was like recognizing all the landmarks that are on the island that they're on. And as they were starting to follow the map, it eventually ended up like just leading them to like a totem marker. And then when they were just end up being led to that, Tulio just felt that they basically just came to a dead end. And as they were starting to leave, it then like showed that there was like some guards ended up chasing like a native woman named Chell. Yeah. And then after like Tulio and Miguel were riding the horse, or shown on the, and then they ended up like being escorted to like a secret entrance behind waterfalls, and then it ended up like leading them to the real city of El Dorado. And after they ended up like being brought to like the chief of the city, Itanabak, along with like the high priest, uh, Sekil Khan, is that how it's said? Yeah. Yeah. And they end up like being mistaken for gods. And then yeah, I was like, then like during the bickering in between like Tulio and Miguel at one point, there was like a volcano that was starting to erupt, and then like after like Tulio ended up like yelling at Miguel to stop pestering him, then that's when like the volcano just ended up like suddenly stopping, and then like the citizens of the city ended up like being convinced that that was really proof that Tulio and Miguel were gods. And then, yeah, they just ended up really being treated like royalty, really, and they were given like really luxurious like rooms, and they also like had the charge of Chell. Yeah, but eventually, like Chell like found out that Miguel and Tulio were actually conning the people, and but yeah, she told them that she would be quiet about it if they do promise to actually take her with them when they leave the city. And then yeah, at one point it then like showed that Sekil Khan was like attempting to sacrifice like a civilian as part of like a ritual for the gods, but then like they end up like stopping him from doing the sacrifice, and then yeah, then later on like Tulio ended up like asking for a boat to be built for them, for them to leave the city with like everything that they've been given, and they were told then that it would take 3 days. And yeah, during the time like Miguel was then like he ended up like wandering off just like exploring the city, and then like as that was taking place like Tulio and Chell were like really like forming a romantic connection together and stuff, yeah. And yeah, Miguel then like as time went on, he was like starting to really like appreciate the life that the citizens have there, and they really do enjoy it. And he also ended up like participating in some of the activities that took place in the city. Yeah, yeah. And at one point, like Miguel was like playing a ball game with some children, and then yeah, Sekal Khan then just was insisting for like the gods, of course, to like demonstrate their powers against like the best players of the in the city of the game. Yeah, yeah, and then yeah, of course, then like Tulio and Miguel were playing against like the best players of the game. Yeah, and yeah, they ended up like being way outmatched. But then like Shell ended up like mixing the ball up with like an armadillo, and yeah, the armadillo was just like rolling around, like looking like the ball, and then yeah, that then like made Tulio and Miguel win. Yeah, yeah, and like the losing team was like gonna be sacrificed, but then just then like Miguel ended up like just sparing the ritual and stuff, and then yeah, he just ended up like chastising Sil- Suckle can, yeah. And then, like, it like showed that Miguel was then starting to bleed, but only Suckle Can noticed. And then that's when, like, he realized that Miguel and Tulio aren't really gods because gods don't bleed. Yeah. And then, like, later on, then he just ended up, like, conjuring, like, a stone jaguar to chase them through the city. Yeah. Yeah. And then, yeah, Tulio and Miguel were, like, just then, like, we're getting ready to leave Eve after the boat was completed, but then Miguel was just telling Tulio that he now had intentions to just stay behind in the city. Yeah. And then, yeah, Tulio and Chell were then just, like, boarding up the boat. Yeah. And then, yeah. Yeah. Psycho Khan eventually, like, unleashed the Jaguar on Tulio and Miguel. And then, yeah, as they were, like, arguing over their differences and stuff, they eventually ended up like outwitting the Jaguar, and then yeah, then like the Jaguar and Can then just fell into like a huge whirlpool, and then Sekal Can then just like surfaced in like a jungle, and then he ended up like encountering like the people on the ship from before for the voyage to the world, yeah, and then yeah, he then like offered the men to just yeah, he offered to lead them to El Dorado and stuff, yeah. And yeah, then like Tulio and Chill then just like then like we're noticing like as they were on the boat they end up like seeing smoke on the horizon, and then they like realized that Cortez was like really close by, and then yeah, Tulio and Chill then just like were like using the boat to ram rock pillars underneath the waterfall in order to like block up the entrance to the city. Yeah. And then yeah, they end up like pulling over a statue to give in like the wake of the boat to give it enough speed, and then yeah, the statue then just ended up like really was falling real quickly, and then yeah, Tulio ended up like was like really having a difficult time to prepare the sail for the boat. And then yeah, Miguel then just ended up like jumping on the boat after he decided not to stay in the city. And then he unfurled the sails, and then And yeah, the eventually like the men like crashed against the pillars and the cave ended up collapsing. But yeah, they ended up like losing all of their gifts as a result of that. Yeah, yeah, and then yeah, they eventually like made it to the totem and just ended up hiding. And then yeah, that's when like Cortez and his men, along with Cycle Can, arrived. But then yeah, after like they see the block entrance and stuff, like he was trying to tell Cortez and the men that the entrance was blocked, but yeah, they just accused him of being a liar, and then they just took him as prisoner. And then yeah, it then like showed that Tulio and Mikhail were upset that their all their treasures were gone, but they then just ended up like setting off with Chell on like a new adventure in a different direction. But then like before like the film ended, it then like just showed that Altivo, the horse, still had like some golden horseshoes that he was presented with in El Dorado, and then yeah, movie then just ended up ending. So yeah, like I said, 3 stars out of 4. Like not a masterpiece or anything, and yeah, it has like some good and some bad in it, and yeah, really not any memorable songs, but yeah, 2 good main characters, and yeah, and it's a well written story and stuff, and so yeah, I guess it is like worth a viewing. Like it won't be a true big waste of time. So yeah, I guess it is worth a viewing. Alright, so yeah, alright, so that does it for my review of The Road to El Dorado. I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and stay tuned as there's more horror reviews in this countdown coming up. Alright, so stay tuned for more coming up in this top 10 DreamWorks animated films countdown. But anyway, yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.